Hello, crypto traders. I am Kurt Wooker Jr. with my dear friend Matthew John, and we are bringing you the 2018 Crypto Traders Year in Review. And we will wrap up at the end of this with our predictions for 2019, because everyone wants predictions, right? So 2018, the biggest bear market in the history of Bitcoin. We had major South Korean regulation, major hacks of CoinCheck, BitGrail. We had the massive Bytecoin exit scam. We had 95% of ICOs fail in 2018. We had NASDAQ announce that we're opening a trading desk. We have Google and Facebook going on again, off again with whether or not we're allowed to advertise our own business at all. It was also the year of stable coins. We started the year with one. We finished with about 3,000 stable coins. Goldman Sachs Circle bought Poloniex, which was a bullish sign followed by a lot of bearish action. We saw Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela announce the Venezuelan Petro, which started as a fork of NEM and Stellar and a couple other things, and then they just scrapped the whole project and launched a fork of Dash. By the way, Dash opened about 2,500 retailers to accept Dash in Caracas, Venezuela during 2018. We had the ETF. No, we didn't. Actually, we had like 6 ETFs get postponed in 2018 and then backed, which was supposed to bring us all back to bullishness. Also postponed into 2019, everybody. And then we had the 10-year anniversary of the white paper where everybody debated what the hell Bitcoin is even for, followed by the November hash war that brought everything even further down to its knees than it was before. And what did we get out of it? A new version of Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin or whatever. So now we have 3 major Bitcoin versions rocking out SHA-256, and maybe what we can look back at and say was the beginning of Operation Dragon Slayer. So 2018 has been a very, very weird year in cryptocurrency, but really the years have been bizarre overall. But we're going to go over what we thought was the most interesting stuff from our community, from the crypto traders community at cryptotraderspro.com, and mostly focused on Facebook, but also very much alive on Twitter and the rest of social media. So what did we do in Q1, Matt? Should we start with the death threats that we got for telling people they should short BTC in January?
Yeah, I remember early in the beginning of this year, we were really talking about, you guys should hedge your positions accordingly, or just completely get out of the market and go into stable coins, or at least move a portion of your portfolio into stable coins, or take some profit. But no, we got a lot of, you're an idiot, you're stupid, you're wrong, we're gonna hold, this is gonna all pass, everything's gonna be all right. And as you can see, this is a chart of the total market cap, the weekly chart, and it has been a slaughter all year long. But
yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't say that doesn't mean we haven't done well overall, which we have considering the market conditions. I think the traders definitely won this year, and the holders took a big fat L. And the people that have been actively managing their portfolio and paying attention instead of just holding and going into hibernation have done very well this year. But the majority hasn't, and the majority got slaughtered because the majority bought in December 2017 when crypto was near its peak, and they ended up riding it all the way back down.
Well, it's funny because we talked about Bitcoin retracing back to about $3,000. The first time that I have a note of me saying that was in February. I know we had talked about it privately, especially in our Discord group, but the first time I posted it to the Facebook group was in February. You posted a video, I believe it was in March, and we talked about, man, $3,000 Bitcoin actually is the number that makes sense from a pure technical analysis perspective. And of course, everyone laughed at us. And they laughed at us again and again and again as we posted it on social media until about the first week in November, when we started saying, I really think I think this is going to break down. The $6,000 support's going to break down. And people started saying, we don't remember you ever saying $3,000. You didn't call $3,000 Bitcoin. And then it was real fun going back with all of the snapshots that we had taken of our predictions to let everybody know we did indeed call the bearish bottom of the market at right around $3,000. I think the very bottom so far this year has been 3,100 and maybe 25, something like that.
Yeah, it was right around there. But I posted, the video that we posted was actually in March 2018, earlier this year, and I just wrote a pretty bold title, Why 3,000 Will Be the Bottom, detailed explanation, and that basically talked about the previous big bull run and bear market that we had and what we could look for and expect. Really, all we can go off of is what happened in the past to try and give our best guess to the future, but it's not going to be perfect, and there's a possibility it could go lower than 3,000. There's a possibility it doesn't happen at all. We just got to use our best guess here.
So some of the other highlights. Going into Q1, we're going to go quarter by quarter. We don't have everything noted out super great, but we want to just kind of go over what we did as Crypto Traders Pro this year. I think the biggest one in Q1 was our first international trip and our first trading conference that we did in Gibraltar at the Gibraltar World Trade Center in association with DAM, Digital Asset Management of Gibraltar. We made a bunch of friends there on the Rock and had a really good time. We basically made a vacation out of it, met a lot of cool crypto traders, and met a lot of people who became crypto traders because of the conference, actually, and had a really good time doing that whole thing. It was so cool that the Gibraltar, I believe they are the GBC, which is a branch of the BBC, came and took some video, and it was our very first TV news appearance as well. And we followed that up by heading out to Barcelona, where we put together the first Crypto Traders meetup and had people come from all over Southern Europe. I think the furthest person to come to that was from Romania, our dear friend Marius Constantin Chochoba, and made his way to Barcelona, where we had terrible internet but had a really good time. We made a spaghetti dinner one night as a group. We went out to a bunch of meals. We had a really good time just kind of hanging out in the big house. Our house had an indoor pool, and
the theme of that was shorting. We had all of our VIP members, so the Crypto Traders Pro community. We had about 5 VIP members that all flew out with us, and we're in there for about 10 days. But we're doing a lot of kind of one-on-one talking about the markets and talking strategy and stuff. And the big theme for that was shorting, because that's when the crypto markets were just starting to turn around, and that was the prime time to short. Of course, I didn't have a short open since the beginning of the year. I really wish I did, but we've done some shorting throughout the year, and we've done pretty well doing it. And a lot of members who hadn't previously considered shorting or didn't know how, we kind of walked them through that process, explained to them how to take a short position, and a lot of members did really well.
It was just a good trip too, and following up out of that, like it actually brought us quite a bit of notoriety, being in some TV media and making friends across Europe. And we started just a few weeks later. We started the CoinCast interview series. We brought on our first guest, Ruben Yap from Zcoin, or to our British friend Zcoin, and the interview really sparked off a whole thing. We've interviewed a ton of developers all year, and it really started right there. With people reaching out to us and saying, hey, nobody else does interviews like these. We'd really like to bring our people on for the next set. So thank you to Ruben for giving us a chance and for putting his reputation on the line for what could have been crazy. It was a live broadcast interview with no pretext. And he ended up being a really good friend. Ruben's been a great friend to crypto traders, and the Zcoin community are a bunch of killer people. Have been super helpful and just friendly, just good people to hang out with. So all started then in Q1.
And I think that series really opens up like what's behind the curtain, because a lot of people don't know. Everyone just goes off what everyone else is saying, but we chose to go straight to the developers of these projects, straight to the CEO or the COO, some higher up authority in these projects that we like, and talk to them directly about what's going on, what are your plans. And we've gotten a ton of information, we've gotten a ton of good tips that led to profitable trades, because we interviewed these guys and they said, oh, we have this, this, and this coming up. And I'm like, all right, well, we need to start looking at the charts. And then we figure out, they have this fundamental catalyst coming up, the chart looks good, you put 2 and 2 together, there comes your big winners on the charts.
Yeah, absolutely. And then right around that time too, we had a big video, controversial video, where we announced the coin of the week. As we are long-term bullish on crypto, we're advocates of mass adoption. We believe in sound money. But our coin of the week series, we in March we put out a video talking about Tether, and a bunch of people got super butthurt about it because Tether is the antithesis of everything crypto, but it was ultimately the right call. Frankly, the coin of the year is Tether, and would have been wise to have been in Tether basically all year unless you are actively trading, and that's a hard truth that requires a shrewd mind, and that was the reason we went for it. We also had successful signals in Q1 on EOS and BAT. Both some of the largest plays that we had all year. EOS was a big runner. Actually, personally, EOS has been my single best trade I've ever done, playing EOS twice between 2017 and early 2018. And then BAT has been probably the project that Matt has been most vocal about for the longest time. Look at that chart. It is probably the healthiest looking altcoin chart in all of crypto, frankly, for the whole year, which has been an absolute slaughter for everybody. And BAT looks like it's got that nice, healthy heartbeat, frankly, like semi-stable, reasonable channel of support and resistance, not based on BS. Based on this chart, I'd say that's an actual coin with actual use. And we can talk about whether it is or isn't in real life, but that chart looks really good.
Well, and I'm going to go over, so every month generally every month we have signals that go out to everybody in the Crypto Traders Pro community. So throughout the video, I want to highlight some of the better signals we've had this year. Of course, we've had losses just like everybody else, but all of our signals come with a stop loss, a risk area to play off of, which is never more than 10-15% at the most. All the signals are posted publicly for everybody to see after the fact. The pro community sees them real time, but everybody can see these and audit our signals and go through them as well. There's been losers. We've had 13%, 11% losses, but the winners have far outweighed the losers, and overall our portfolio is up. So throughout this video, I kind of want to highlight the best signals we had from each quarter. And these vertical lines demonstrate when we entered, when the signal was called, and when the signal was a sell signal, or when I sold out of my position. I told everybody I'm exiting, taking profits, and whatever. EOS was one of the very first big signals of the year. And this was right after we had that huge market crash, and then it kind of rebounded, and we got in. It was like $4 or $5 and sold at like $22, and now it's down to $2.
Yeah, and we very publicly called the top. In fact, we had a lot of people mad at us on that situation when I started telling people to short it at $20, and people were telling us, no, EOS is just going to keep running. EOS is going to replace Bitcoin and everything else. And I told everybody, like, look, anything over $20, I'm shorting hard. And again, a lot of heat, just like we got heat in January for telling people they should short BTC. We got the same kind of just angry, nearing death threats, panic, fear, anger coming out of the EOS crew as we were telling them to short at $20-ish. I think it peaked at what, 22, 23?
Yeah, it peaked around 23. I shorted at 22, and I remember cutting it early. And that's another thing, is you got to be patient. I think a lot of people learned that this year. Like, you can't be expecting these things to move big overnight. They usually take several weeks or several months. If you just had a short position opened here and just walked away all year, you'd be sitting in nice profits right now. But it's hard for people, including me and Kurt, I'm sure too, just to be patient and let the trade play out.
Yep, absolutely. So then moving on to Q2, going into April, Matt launched what is my actual favorite series on our YouTube channel, is the How to Grow a Small Trading Account series. A lot of people ask us on the Facebook group, or people are a little bit apprehensive about joining our pro group and saying like, hey, maybe I've made some bad decisions. Maybe I hodled through a 30, 40, 50% loss on something. What do I do? How do I get from being a $1,000 crypto investor to being, one of these whales in 5 years? And the answer is check out our How to Grow a Small Trading Account series, because it is just simple information. It's the kind of thing that anybody can do. You can start with $500 or whatever. I like to tell everybody I'm kind of famous for stupid mantras, but one of mine is that you should invest your beer money, but not your rent money. And when your beer money becomes something like $500 or $1,000, you can start to actively trade. And how many videos was this? It was 7 videos you went into with just kind of simple tips, tricks, and strategies to make their way to becoming great.
Yeah, this is all the basics, and a lot of people know my story is I won a bet, $500 bet that Trump would win president. I ended up in crypto. I took that money out in Bitcoin. It was about $1,250. At the time, it was just over 2 Bitcoin. And I've just played with that money, and I was able to grow it over time. So in this series, I basically talk through my strategy on how I grew that $1,250 account to $10,000, and then from $10,000 to $25,000. I think those are the 2 biggest milestones a beginner trader has. I think the hardest thing to do is to grow a small account, but if you do it right and you don't blow up your account later, you only have to do it once. You only have to get past that one time, and you never have to look back.
And then coming off of that, we had a bunch of really good signals in Q2. While Q2 is kind of a rough time for crypto in general after some big run-ups, after the initial bounce that we had coming off the first big slaughter. But we had really good signals on Substratum. You can see the entry and the exit on there. We also had a big Ethereum signal trade played out.
This was awesome.
One of the best plays in Q2 that you could have been in, period. Wanchain was another big one, or Wanchain, depending on what part of the country you're from. Another killer.
And just look at how the chart. This is exactly why we didn't want to hold. These are signals. These are trades. So Wanchain was an example of one we bought with Ethereum, because I bought a ton of Ethereum for this move. So while this move was playing out, and this is interesting, well, Ethereum was going up in USD value. I was also trading that Ethereum for a coin that was gaining Ethereum value. So I was gaining Ethereum while Ethereum's going up in value. That's something I call a double win.
Yeah, that's the exponential play right there, folks. Moving on to BNB, the most centralized coin in all of crypto. Also, actually been a really good play, and a really good if you had to hold something. BNB has actually been semi decent as well.
Yeah.
Good entry and exit on that. And then Mana was one of the ones we've talked about. We've talked about Decentraland, the concept of Mana just being like a really interesting project, talking about real utility of cryptocurrency, and the game industry is one of those big ones. But oh my goodness, did we make a big play on?
And this was kind of lucky. I will say lucky because this, if you could see, this pumped like in one day, massive pump.
Crazy.
And I just so happened to be sitting here staring at the chart, watching this happen in real time. And I ended up selling damn near the top of this move right here. And I told everybody, I put out a Telegram, I put Discord, I'm like, sell, 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 sell. Because these pumps, they happen sometimes, these kind of flash pumps.
Sure.
I think there was news of Barry Silbert, who has a very large hedge fund. He was going to be investing in Mana. And it just pumped massively for a few minutes, and it came right back down to reality. But there's another coin I like for the long term.
Yeah, it's another killer project. It's one that we really liked fundamentally. In fact, Matt, I think you're the one that discovered the coin, and it's been one that we talk about a lot in the pro group on Discord. And so we just kind of started snagging some as sort of a long-term hold, and then, you get this massive pump candle move. We're like, well, I guess we're selling.
You need to sell it because, these types of moves are not going to be sustained. Yeah, no. They won't just do this forever. So take the profits. You could always get back in.
Absolutely. So moving on from that, we started to do some infrastructural stuff, started to really talk about how to treat Crypto Traders Pro as a business that had growth potential, kind of work out everybody's roles and what we should do. So we worked really hard on updating the website, and we hired a full-time media team. We should give a shout out to Luca, our friend who does literally all of our video editing work. I guess save for my wife Natalie, who does a few of our bigger, grander videos. But Luca is the guy behind the scenes, day to day, really kicking butt, and he deserves credit for making us look a lot cooler than we are in real life often. And then, we also spent a lot of time, our interview series, Coincast, got a lot more intense. We spent over 6 hours interviewing EOS block producers because the EOS launch was sort of controversial and had a lot of big things going on actually early on, and people weren't really clear what was happening in the EOS ecosystem. So we reached out and talked to members from EOS New York, EOS Tribe, EOS DAC, a number of other block producer groups, and got a lot of information. I think we talked to 6 or 7 people over the course of 2 long interviews about what the hell it means to be an EOS block producer and some of what's going on. And in fact, the interview itself, or the interviews, were really good. They made me intrigued about EOS, but they actually confirmed the necessity to stay short on EOS for the year because they were having a ton of political problems, and a governance problem is really hard to get over, especially in the short term. So I had recommended to the group to just remain short until they make some really big strides in governance, which have yet to happen, which is why I'm still not super excited about EOS. If you got a little bit of side change, you want to invest for the speculative long term, and that's on you. May or may not be a good idea, but as for right now, their governance issues, which we discovered in these interviews, were a huge thing that came out of Q2. We also made a bunch of improvements in our Discord group after learning from our early experiences. None of us actually had any experience managing a Discord group, which of course there are a lot of people that do a lot of in the gaming community, but we had Volume and RSI bots built for Binance and Bitfinex, which are the primary exchanges where we trade. What they do is they monitor when there's spikes in the RSI or in the volume to let us know, hey, there could be a trade setup about to establish itself and that we should be paying attention.
Well, let me explain this real quick. So
yeah.
On the EOS chart right here, the bot is set up so anytime the volume or anytime the RSI dips below 20 on the daily chart, it triggers an alert and it messages everybody in the Discord saying, hey, the RSI on EOS is now below 20. So to me, that is one of the indicators I look for when taking a trade. Is it oversold, or is a divergence happening, either a bullish or bearish divergence? But as you can see right here, when the RSI did dip below 20, it would have sent us an alert, and this happened to be right at the bottom of this recent bounce. So if you would have got in at $1.50 when this triggered, now it's $2.75. So these bots are very helpful. It's like programming something to scan the entire market for you so you don't have to. Very useful tool for the Crypto Traders Pro members.
Absolutely. And then we also added the Dash Tipper bot. So through some of these CoinCast conversations, we became pretty good friends with Joel Valenzuela, who is the lead editor for Dash News. I think at the time it was called Dash Force News. You can watch Matt on screen here. Rain 5 millidash out to the group. Bam, there it is. So they programmed a Dash bot for us. They use it in the Dash Discord as well. And we asked if we could have access to it. They gave it to us. So now we can all tip each other when somebody comes up with something great. So if one of our pro members finds a gem and it ends up playing out, we'll tip each other. We also tip each other for memes or anytime somebody new joins. We'll usually get people tip everybody a millidash, which is super tiny USD value, but because Dash works really well on microtransactions, it's fun to just tip each other a little bit and use it as a tool in the Dash or in our Discord group from the Dash core group and some of the folks over there. So that's some of the...
Basically, you're rewarded for being active and engaged. So this encourages people to contribute to the chat room, because when I do these Rain 5M Dash, it takes the 10 most active recently active people, and it rewards them with the lottery.
Pretty cool stuff. Just novelty, but a fun thing to have in Discord. But our Discord group definitely matured in Q2. And then going into Q3, so this is when we enter the 6-month mark during the bear market of 2018. We had a big signal on Walton Coin. Ta-da! One of the big spikes, everybody. And this is based on, actually, it looks like a breakout retest, which is the Matthew John special that he likes to point out. I believe that is your favorite pattern to play. Matt, maybe I'll let you take it away here on this Walton signal here.
Yeah, this was one of our actually only signals in Q3, partly because just overall the market did look pretty bearish, and we were doing a lot of traveling. We do conferences. Anybody that is in the community gets access to these conferences. So sometimes, these conferences charge $2,000 a ticket. Well, we've negotiated with some of the conferences that we attend that anybody that's in our pro group is able to get in for free. We usually travel with everybody. We get a big house, and everyone gets to meet each other and talk about crypto and trading, and it's a fun time. But Walton was one of our only signals in Q3 over those few months. A lot of it was just, hey, sit in Tether, or we're shorting, or stuff like that. We don't like calling signals when we aren't confident, and Walton just so happened to be one of those signals that played out really well in Q3.
Yep, absolutely. And speaking of these conferences, we traveled to Toronto for the Untraceable Blockchain Futurist Conference. It's the flagship conference from the Untraceable community, which is the community where Ethereum actually was established in the Toronto area, run by Tracy Leporullo and her family. But they put together, quite simply, the best conference you can go to. You can go to Consensus for $4,000 in New York City, or you go to Toronto and drop into the Futurist Conference for about $500, unless, like Matt said, you are one of the Crypto Traders Insiders, in which case you could have gotten in for free. And I think the most expensive ticket option, if you were a part of the greater Crypto Traders family, was something like $90. So you can get into one of these conferences for huge. And we were fortunate enough to speak up on stage. They invited us to speak to a large audience about merchant adoption options. But we were speaking alongside Charles Hoskinson, one of the founders of Ethereum and now Cardano, as well as Max Kaiser, the famous Bitcoin maximalist and crypto economist. Who else was there? Larry King, the famous CNN Larry King Live host. A number of others. Trevor Kaverko was there speaking. Roger Ver tuned in via satellite. A whole bunch of people. It was a big conference, multi-day.
There was like 4,000 people at this event, one of the biggest cryptocurrency conferences all year, and we had the opportunity to speak about merchant adoption, which we feel is one of the biggest problems right now. Yeah,
vastly overlooked. We also finally met Ken Bozak and Sean Hebert in person, and met just a lot of cool people in Toronto. It was a really, really fun experience, actually. It was more even than I expected. And really glad we made that happen. And then we followed up pretty quickly thereafter. We had the Chicago VIP meetup for crypto traders. So we have 5 VIP members that pay us for extra attention, one-on-one, and to have the ability to come in and do on-location boot camps. And that's exactly what we did was it late August or was it the first week of September?
It was early September.
So first week of September, we rented a beautiful Victorian home in Forest Park, which is a close suburb to Chicago, and had everybody out to just go over everything. And we went over a ton of stuff. We went over entering the biggest short that you ever shorted.
I forgot to bring this up. So ETP USD, right here, this was here's the line. I still have it. This is when we had the VIP event. So we had the 5 VIPs out there, or 4 VIPs, whoever showed up. And I did like a whole speech on, hey, I think this is the one position that I'm very confident in. You guys should be shorting this. It's a total scam. It's going to go to zero, blah, 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 blah. And this was ETP USD. This is on Bitfinex. This is when I announced the short, and it dropped like 80% within the next couple weeks.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Aside from that, I mean, we traveled the city. We went to famous pizza places. We did some interviews on the street. We interviewed with the VIP members. Actually, we interviewed them. We had Allie interview us. We were kind of celebrating our 1 year since the establishment of Crypto Traders, which was the previous August when the Facebook group was put together initially. So it was both a celebration and a boot camp, and we did a bunch of great stuff, bought a bunch of good food and good wine, and went out for some just really good time. We had a good time at Millennium Park and everything else. We enjoyed the city of Chicago.
We talked to a lot of businesses as well. Everywhere we went to eat, we talk about cryptocurrency. Hey, would you accept cryptocurrency? Why aren't you accepting it? You know, we're trying to we're trying to talk to these businesses and figure out what it would take for them to start accepting cryptocurrency as a payment for their service.
And then that actually, the way we closed down, we had Vance come on over via satellite, and we announced the very first little establishment foundations of what will become Moon Rocket Capital, which is the hedge fund that we are putting together. It'll be exclusive to the Crypto Traders community at first. And we let our VIPs know first that we were working on establishing, well, just all of the legal paperwork, just everything. So that was a big announcement that the VIPs got the very first gist of at the Chicago VIP meetup. We followed that shortly thereafter, establishing the Chicago Bitcoin Cash meetup as part of our push for merchant services adoption. We talked to some people from Dash, Digibyte, and Bitcoin.com to talk about Bitcoin Cash, and decided ultimately that we would focus primarily on Bitcoin Cash because it was the largest cap coin that wanted to be used as cash. And we started doing regular meetups in downtown Chicago, covering the tools that are available for BCH merchant adoption. And we also established the Crypto Traders podcast, where we kind of combined some of the content that we were creating for CoinCast and some of our other things and said, hey, we should be pushing these out to iTunes and Amazon and Google and Stitcher, SoundCloud, everywhere else, and put together a legitimate podcast that can be subscribed to via RSS. Because a lot of people had been asking, hey, I like to drive and I can't watch YouTube videos while I'm in the car, but I would love to listen to the podcasts. So we listened to the popular demand of the crowd and created the Crypto Traders podcast in Q3. We also had a really great interview with Joel Valenzuela from Dash to learn how to live entirely on Dash. The man lives on cryptocurrency. He hasn't even had a bank account in about 3 years now. And had a good time hearing what it's like to live in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, which is the most crypto-adopted town in the United States. Literally, you can buy coffee and groceries and everything else on Dash. He literally lives 100%. There are car dealers that accept cryptocurrency there. And really just kind of the flagship city in the United States. And our dear friend Joel living there and figuring out a way to do it in real life using Bitrefill to pay his phone bill and everything else. So had a really good Q3, learned a bunch of stuff, made a lot of relationships, and established a bigger media presence in Q3. Matt, maybe you can go over the signals here. Starting Q4, Bat and Poly. Bat making its, I think, third appearance,
second appearance. So the Bat, I would say, is our best play of the year because we had two separate signals on this, one in March and one in September. Both were 100% winners. They were almost the exact same play. They were in the same exact spot on the chart. This one we got a little bit earlier, but right here, and we sold it up here. I mean, almost the same exact play. I spotted this early reversal based on the RSI and also previous support on the chart, and then it took off leading up into that Coinbase news that I talked about ever since December 2017, that Bat would be one of the first to get listed on Coinbase. I ended up selling it the day of the announcement, which was a couple days early at the top, but I'll take it. I got 100% profits. A lot of members in the group made a ton of money off this, and we rolled those profits into Polymath, which was a little bit shorter play, but it did make a 30-40% move in a couple days here, and that was another great signal as well. But also in Q4, we had Bitcoin decide to drop out of that 6,000 range and head all the way down to 3,000. So I was telling a lot of people that, hey, I'm going to be mostly in stable coins, doing some shorts here and there on the market, but stablecoins was the play. And aside from those two little plays we had before the bottom fell out here, it was a lot of, hey, go on stablecoins and just wait. Let's wait for this to pass. Let's not try and force any signals while Bitcoin and all the other cryptocurrencies are dropping in value so quickly. We'll wait for the bottom and then make a intelligent entry back into the market rather than just holding and watching our portfolios disintegrate.
Yeah. All right, like the end of Avengers 3. So moving on from the signals, we did a bunch more community stuff. Having established the Bitcoin Cash meetup in Chicago, we started to become a little bit more prominent in the Bitcoin Cash community. And then, of course, we had the November hash war that actually beat the living daylights out of the markets, given that SHA-256 was not being used to secure chains, but it was rather being used to fight over who's the real Bitcoin Cash, and then just becoming a giant catalyst. But I was asked by the folks from Keyport TV if I wanted to host part of the hash war live coverage, so I was on live with the BCH Boys, the Beach Boys podcast, live on Keyport to cover some of that. Ended up splitting into the BSV chain, and everything else. But it's been a wild ride in the SHA-256 universe since November 15th, starting in Q4 there. We also interviewed Vin Armani, who's probably the most famous person we've interviewed. He is the single most successful straight male gigolo in the history of male prostitution. But he is also a really killer Bitcoin developer. He's been a Bitcoin developer for years. He's a software guru. He's also I believe he's the CTO, Chief Technical Officer and founder of Cointext, which is another project that we've been super bullish on from the Bitcoin Cash community, allowing you to send transactions via SMS message anywhere in the world. No need for internet to send Bitcoin around. Piggybacking off of that, we were asked to speak at another Untraceable event. So we spoke at Loyalty Live in downtown Chicago, again, about the need for merchant adoption. I think that one was really particularly good because it was a loyalty points based conference. It was a lot of people that are sort of involved in retail and don't really understand what cryptocurrency is for. They saw it simply as some kind of a database to track reward points. And then when we went up and it kind of explained the ability for cryptocurrency to be used as a means of exchange in a retail environment, from stage we could see a lot of people kind of lighting up. There was a lot of intrigued faces in that crowd, full of very powerful venture capitalists and a lot of insiders from the rewards industry. And I think it was one of my favorite things actually all year, because I think it was one of those like wow moments that we don't see a lot of anymore in crypto, where people are investing, they're waiting for those pumps. You get kind of Lambo culture, or these people that just think of this distributed ledger as some vague tool, but teaching people how to use it. And it was fun because I was able to send microtransactions to people there and say, hey, watch, I can send you 10 cents via SMS and everything else. And we had a lot of people just kind of like, this crypto is actually pretty cool as peer-to-peer cash, if you can imagine that. And so yeah, one of my favorite things. We had Vance out. We finally met Vance in real life in Chicago. Rented a house in Humboldt Park and had a good time having some long late night conversations over Grubhub delivered tacos a few times.
We also had we completely redid our website. That's about to launch here in the coming days. Complete redesign. We've added some new services. We've grown our group significantly. Right now there's over 230 members in the pro community, and we hope to continue to grow the pro community because we believe that the more eyes we have on the markets working together, the more profits everybody's going to make, the better everyone's going to do in the long term. Rather than if you're trying to do this by yourself, you're probably not going to be doing as well as you could if you were working with a community of successful and established traders. So we look to continue to grow the group. We also, at Vance, as Kurt said, as an admin, so we now have 3 people working full-time. Vance is in Australia, so we're able to work 24/7 around the clock.
And we also brought him on to be, as we get Moonrocket Capital, the coolest hedge fund in the history of hedge funds, put together. He will be a managing partner there. So we'll have more eyes on the markets at all times to make sure that things are super slick and successful on that front. And then we're also reintroducing the redesigned website, literally coming in days. In fact, by the time this video comes out, we may be fully launched. But then totally changing membership structure. We're going to do monthly packages, trial packages, and just kind of bring more people in. We've been trying to democratize cryptocurrency. That started that way in 2009 and 10, and then made its way toward being too expensive, and $5,000 tickets to conferences, and everybody excited about what Wall Street's doing with Bitcoin. And we're trying to bring it back to like, hey, what can the regular person do to get involved in the cryptocurrency regulation or cryptocurrency industry through jumping into either use as a means of exchange or simple investment strategies, or being your own boss in the way that you're supposed to be, not just buying and hodling, but buy something and build something with it. And so as we make our way into 2019, we want to encourage everybody, don't buy anything that you don't have a use for and a plan for. And if you want to have some help on how to put together a plan, please reach out to us, CryptoTradersPro.com, and our social media stuff everywhere, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere in the universe that Crypto Traders exists. We are here to help you make wise decisions, or at least how to make your own calculated decisions rather than just trusting nameless shills on Twitter or wherever else you're
cartoons that are afraid to reveal their identity because they don't have good intentions.
Exactly. So we're trying to be the kind of the light in the darkness. Crypto kind of has that scammer sort of vibe to a lot of people, and to be fair, it's a fair criticism in a lot of ways. And we're trying to bring the professionalism and the faces of real people out into the open to say, hey, Bitcoin is good, crypto is good, blockchains can change the world, but only if we intend to use them the way they were supposed to be used. Matt, do you have anything you want to cover before we wrap this one up, our 2018 year in review? What are your predictions, actually, for 2019?
So some of my big predictions of what I'm really excited for is, first and foremost, I'm most interested in seeing some of these large brokerage firms entering the space, and not just them investing, but opening up cryptocurrency as one of their products. Just like you could invest in your IRA or 401k, I should be able to buy crypto directly through E-Trade or TD Ameritrade or Interactive Brokers. Once these brokerages start entering the game, I think that's going to open cryptocurrency to a lot more retail investors, retail traders. Yes, there's going to be institutions and a lot of big money involved as well, but it's going to open up crypto to so many more people. I'm really excited about that. I also believe we're going to get some regulatory clarification. I don't know if that's good or bad just yet, but I think we're going to get some forward progress there as well. And I would like to see more adoption. I want to be able to spend my cryptocurrency in more places. And when I ask people if they accept cryptocurrency, I don't want them to snarl their nose up at me and scoff.
All right. Assume you're a heroin dealer looking for a way to push off some of your holdings.
Right. What do you think is going to happen in 2019?
I have really mixed emotions about what I think is going to happen. Like, I think the move back to $3,000 was very clear. But I think there's a lot of weird stuff going on. There's a lot of unprecedented things. And there's a lot of... I'd say it's the time in crypto that I've been the most unsure about what to predict, actually. And I think, anytime since 2012, 2013-ish, when I got involved in Bitcoin for the first time, I was always bullish on BTC, and then I became bullish on Monero, and I was bullish on Ethereum a number of years ago, and I was right about those things. And now I look at the landscape and say, man, there's a lot of divergent options, and I always want to pick the best thing that's in a zone. So like the best smart contract platform, or the best money, or the best, whatever. And now I think it's a lot less clear than typical, which is part of a sign to me that there's a lot of development going on and a lot of competition, which is good overall for cryptocurrency. But I think the thing that is scary about it is it's harder to pick a winner when you have a lot of good competitors. So the thing that I think that absolutely is going to need to be solved in 2019 is who is going to be supreme on SHA-256, because we have BTC, BCH, and now BSV, and we really need there to be basically a clarifying event. There's been discussion from the BCH community, quietly, not huge, but maybe changing their proof of work in order to make themselves not vulnerable to the BTC hash power. We're also seeing Bitmain looking like they may be going all the way out of business, which would be a huge shakeup in the cryptocurrency space. We also now have a bunch of the early Bitcoin community has now gone over to BSV and are developing things like MetaNet, which is supposed to be like basically turning the internet into a side chain of Bitcoin. And we don't know how any of that stuff's going to play out. I think one of the things we're going to see is some, like you said, definite clarity from the SEC and other regulatory departments. I think we're going to see something like Bakkt end up showing up to be a vehicle to allow people to invest more simply in crypto. And I hope to God that we end up having more merchant adoption. I want to give shout outs to people from Bitcoin.com as well as the Dash community for doing that work, for jumping out and doing that legwork to get people accepting crypto and making that kind of thing happen. That's the stuff I'm most excited about. But predictions, I think, are even scarier than ever. So we're not going away. Nothing's disappearing. Hash power is growing everywhere. Development is growing everywhere. even while prices have continued to mostly bleed. But really, development and the increase of hash power is telling me that there's infrastructural development. There's big money that believes in the long-term infrastructure of Bitcoin and the greater cryptocurrency sphere. So while we may not be hugely bullish in 2019, that is a possibility. But I would like to see more consolidation. We've seen 95% of ICOs break down and go to hell and coins disappear. And I think we need more of that, actually. I think we need to kind of crush the bad and really see the good start to pull away from the junk. And I think 2019 should be one of those clarifying years now that a bunch of groups that were not really built on anything great are firing the development teams and breaking down. So 2019, I think, will be a year of flex and clarity. We'll burn out the bad and see the good stuff rise to the top.
Amen to that.
So everybody, thank you for watching and listening. Our recap of 2018, we went over the little news bullet points and covered what crypto traders did in 2018. And really, it was our flagship year. It was our first full year as a business, and I'm really proud of everything we did. Going into 2019, we had our predictions, and ultimately we want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and join us on social media. Join us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and everywhere else, because we want you to contribute to the crypto traders of 2019. We want your feedback. We want your predictions. We want you to argue with us about all the other crap we're up to. And please, no more death threats. When we tell people to short, it's because it's probably a good idea. And ultimately, we are bullish on the big things in the cryptocurrency space, Bitcoin and all the other good stuff. So we want to wish you all a very happy new year. We're very excited about 2019. And
all right, guys, it was great talking to you. This is our last video for 2018. We will see you in 2019 and on the moon.